Marcus Hale had spent 20 years building Hale Dynamics into one of the most respected engineering corporations on the East Coast. He had inherited nothing, no legacy money, no family business, no golden handshake, just a degree in industrial management and a relentless obsession with efficiency. He believed in clean data, clean factories, clean policies. Every report, every shift log, every new hire went through his desk. People called him demanding, clinical, cold even. But Marcus preferred another word, consistent. That consistency had raised the value of his company from a regional manufacturer to a national powerhouse worth billions. But nothing in his life had prepared him for the night of shivering. Black teenager named Caleb Wynn appeared at the glass doors of his penthouse building at 2:20 in the morning, soaking wet, with bruises on his arms and terror in his eyes. The wind outside howled like a beast, slinging freezing rain in every direction. Marcus had just returned from a late meeting when he saw the boy through the lobby, shaking, wearing a ripped hoodie and muddy sneakers. At first Marcus thought he was a runaway or maybe a kid from a rough neighborhood who had wandered into the city center. But then the boy looked up and the security camera caught his face. His eyes filled with tears the moment he saw Marcus. He mouthed something. Marcus saw the lips form the word please. Inside, the night guard hesitated. It wasn't every night that a drenched teenager begged to see the CEO at 2 in the morning. But the boy pointed repeatedly at Marcus, insisting he was the only one he wanted to speak to. Marcus pushed the revolving door and stepped into the icy air. "Are you all right?" he asked, taking off his coat and draping it around the boy's shoulders. The kid immediately sank into the warmth, trembling violently but trying to stand straight. "My name's Caleb," the boy stammered through chattering teeth. "Caleb Wynn." Marcus placed a steady hand on the boy's shoulder. "Who are you looking for, Caleb? Why are you here at this hour?" Caleb inhaled shakily. "My mom. She works at one of your plants. Plant 6, she didn't come home tonight." Marcus felt the words punch through him. Plant 6 was his largest facility, over 800 employees, a metalworks and robotics manufacturing site running 3 shifts. But more important was the way Caleb said it. Not angrily, not accusingly, just scared. "Utterly scared." "When was the last time you saw her?" Marcus asked, steering the boy inside where the warmth enveloped them. "Last night before her shift. She packed her dinner, said she'd be home before sunrise. She's never late." "Never?" The boy's throat tightened. "I waited and waited. She didn't answer her phone. I went to the plant, but the guards told me to leave. They said she got into trouble. They said she was being questioned." Caleb's voice broke. "They wouldn't let me see her. They told me she might be fired." Marcus felt a strange heaviness stir in his chest. Hale Dynamics had strict protocols for employee discipline. Any questioning should be documented, and no one, absolutely no one, should be detained without immediate HR involvement. "What's your mother's name?" Marcus asked, guiding him deeper into the lobby. "Layla Wynn," Caleb whispered. "Everyone calls her Lay." Marcus knew the name, not because she was prominent. She wasn't just a machine operator on assembly line 2. But several months ago, Marcus had personally approved a commendation for her. She had prevented a mechanical failure that could have injured 3 workers. He remembered the report. Punctual, disciplined, skilled, respected by her team. Not a single red flag. So how does someone like that disappear? "Come on," Marcus said. "We're going to plant 6. The rain hammered their car roof as the driver maneuvered through near-empty streets. Caleb sat beside Marcus, holding his coat tightly around him like a shield. He stared out the window with hollow, sleepless eyes. "How long has your mum worked at Plant 6? Marcus asked. 5 years, Caleb replied softly. "She works nights because it pays more. She says someday she'll save enough to move us somewhere with sunlight where she doesn't sleep during the day." Marcus nodded. He knew the night shift was grueling, but something else bothered him. "Did your mother ever mention any issues at work? Anyone bothering her?" Caleb hesitated, glancing nervously at Marcus. "There was a supervisor, new guy, Jenkins, white guy, bald, always complained about her. Said she was too opinionated. Said she didn't know her place." Marcus stiffened. "Her place? That's what he told her once. Mom told him she wasn't going to let anyone disrespect her. She said she earned her position." Caleb shivered again. "After that, she said things got worse." The headlights illuminated the industrial district, towering gray buildings, steaming vents, and puddles reflecting distorted lights. Plant 6 rose ahead like a fortress of steel and smoke. When the car stopped, Marcus wasted no time. He marched with Caleb into the security office. 2 guards looked up in shock. No CEO ever visited unannounced, let alone at 3 in the morning. The older guard stood up so stiffly his chair nearly toppled. "Mr. Hallett," he stuttered. "We weren't expecting. Where is Layla Wynn?" Marcus demanded. The younger guard swallowed. "Sir, there was an incident. Miss Wynn was caught with restricted materials, high-value metal alloys. Supervisor Jenkins reported her. She resisted the security check." And Marcus's stare froze him mid. "Where is she now?" "Locked in the interview room, sir. Until HR unlock it," Marcus said sharply. The guards exchanged panicked looks. "Sir, protocol says." "I wrote the protocols," Marcus snapped. "Open the door." 10 minutes later, Marcus walked inside the small concrete-walled interview chamber. The air smelled like cheap disinfectant and metal. A single flickering fluorescent light cast harsh shadows. Layla Wynn sat in a steel chair, wrists bound with plastic restraints. Her cheek was swollen. A cut above her eyebrow still oozed faintly. But when she saw Caleb rush into the room, she gasped. "Baby," she whispered, tears spilling instantly. "You shouldn't be here." Caleb threw himself into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Layla held him despite her bound hands, whispering, I'm okay, I promise." Marcus stood silent for a moment. Something was incredibly wrong. This woman did not look like a thief. She looked like someone who had been waiting for punishment she knew wasn't deserved. "Miss Wynn," Marcus said quietly, "I need to know what happened." Her eyes met his dark, sharp, exhausted. "I didn't steal anything. I never touched those materials. They cornered me. Jenkins and 2 guards said they saw me tampering with storage cages. I told them it was a lie." Her breathing hitched. "Then they searched my locker, found a bag of alloy rods in it, but I didn't put it there." Marcus felt his jaw clench. Plant lockers were assigned and locked only the employee, and supervisors had access. Whoever planted the objects had a key. "Why would Jenkins accuse you?" Marcus asked. Layla shook her head slowly. "He wanted me gone. He said I talked too much, stood up for others too much. A few months ago I reported a hazard he ignored for weeks. He said I was making him look bad." Marcus's anger simmered. A supervisor feeling threatened wasn't uncommon, but framing an employee, that crossed into criminal territory. "Where is Jenkins now?" Marcus asked the guards through the open door. "Not on site, sir. He clocked out early." "Convenient." Marcus turned back to Layla. "Did anyone else see what happened?" A bitter smile ghosted across her face. "Plenty saw. No one talks. They all know Jenkins has friends in management." Caleb lifted his head, wiping tears with his sleeve. "Mom, tell him about the list." Marcus's stomach dropped. "What lists?" Layla hesitated. "I'm not sure it's real. Just rumors. Workers said Jenkins had a list of employees he wanted transferred or fired. Most of them black, some Hispanic, people he thought were difficult. I thought it was just talk." Marcus stared at her. "Why didn't you report him?" "I did," she whispered. "Twice HR said there wasn't enough evidence. One of the HR managers was Jenkins's cousin." Marcus went very still. A moment passed before he spoke. "Miss Wynn, you are released from restraints immediately." The guards hesitated again, but one icy look from Marcus made them move. When her hands were free, Layla massaged her wrists. Caleb clung to her side. The sight made Marcus furious, not at her, but at the system that had enabled this injustice right under his nose. "Both of you are coming with me," he said. "We're going to review every camera in this building, every locker log, every supervisor message. I want to know exactly who framed you and why." He turned to the senior guard. "Call in the assistant director of security and the night shift plant manager now." The guard nodded and sprinted out. As Marcus escorted Caleb and Layla down the hallway, something darker began to take shape. He noticed the way employees avoided eye contact, whispering behind clipboards. He noticed how a few workers froze when they saw Layla, with him as if afraid her presence would drag them down. Fear, conditioned fear, something systemic, was hiding in his company. Something calculated, something dangerous. And as they reached the surveillance center, Marcus felt the truth creeping toward him like a shadow, stretching across a floor. Someone inside Hell Dynamics had built a system of discrimination. Someone had created a hierarchy of who could rise and who must fall. Someone had framed Layla Wynn to send a message, and Marcus Hale, the man who prided himself on knowing every number in his empire, realized he might know nothing at all about the people quietly rorting it. From within, the truth was waiting behind those surveillance screens. And once Marcus saw it, nothing in holodynamics or his life would ever be the same. Everything felt heavier the moment Aaron stepped out of the building. The streetlights buzzed above him, flickering as if warning him that the night was not done with him yet. Cars moved past, normal people living normal lives, unaware that somewhere beneath their city, corruption was alive, breathing, and watching. He tightened his grip on the folder hidden inside his coat, the same folder that could destroy careers, reputations, and entire departments if leaked. But it could also end him, and he knew it. Riya walked beside him, adrenaline still sharp in her eyes. She had sent James home in a cab with strict instructions to lock the doors and call her every hour. The boy hadn't spoken a single word since they left the detention center, but he'd held onto her arm the whole ride, as if he simply couldn't imagine that safety was real. Now she walked fast, her mind running even faster, whispering to Aaron all the pieces she was beginning to connect: forged signatures, falsified reports, missing children who had been listed as relocated, and the sudden promotions of officers who had histories of complaints. It was a web one someone had spent years stitching together with precision. But Aaron wasn't listening anymore, not fully. His attention kept darting to the shadows. Someone had been following them since they left the building. He could feel it, a cold instinct rolling up his spine. Every CEO learns to spot danger, not because the boardroom trains them, but because power attracts enemies. He stopped suddenly, pretending to tie his shoes. and in the reflection of a car window, he saw a figure standing too still, too focused, hands inside a black coat. He didn't know the face, but he knew the intention. He stood and started walking again, this time guiding Riya subtly toward the busier street. "Don't look back," he whispered, "but we aren't alone." She stiffened, then steadied herself. She had been threatened before for reporting abusive officers, but this felt different. This wasn't a warning. This was surveillance. They reached Aaron's car, a black SUV with tinted windows, and Riya exhaled as they got inside. For a second, the noise of the night faded. But as soon as Aaron turned on the engine, the dashboard lit up with an alert. "Unknown device detected. Tracking signal active." Riya froze. They bugged the car. Aaron didn't answer. He simply pressed a finger to his lips, rolled down the window casually, and tossed his phone out onto the street like he was discarding trash. Riya's eyes widened, but she didn't question him. Instead, she followed his lead and dropped her own phone under the seat without touching anything else. Aaron slowly eased the car away from the curb. He didn't speed. He didn't panic. Predators react to panic, but they hesitate. When prey behaves unpredictably, they drove in silence until they reached a crowded gas station. The bright lights, the people coming and going, the cameras, it was safer. Aaron parked, leaned forward calmly, and whispered, "Open your glove compartment." "Don't make it obvious." Riya did. Inside was another phone, one he had kept off for months. A line he used only when something was truly wrong. "This is bad," she breathed. Aaron nodded. "This goes deeper than we thought." He dialed a number he never wanted to use. A voice answered immediately. "You finally calling means things have gone to hell," the man on the line said. His tone was calm, too calm. "What happened?" Aaron glanced at Riya. She nodded, giving him the quiet push he needed. "They're targeting children," Aaron said. "Black kids. Kids without records. They're pulling them into a system no one checks. Officers are involved. Supervisors too. Someone covered it all up. Someone with power." The man on the phone didn't speak for several seconds. "That's not a small accusation," he finally said. "I have evidence," Aaron replied. "Enough to burn this city down." The man inhaled sharply. "Then you need protection, and you need to disappear before you go public." Aaron hung up without another word. Riya's voice was barely above a whisper. "Disappear. Aaron, they're targeting James. They will come after the kids you found. They already arrested him for nothing. And they will again," Aaron muttered. "Unless we move now." He stepped out of the car and headed to the payphone beside the station wall. It was scratched, dusty, almost never used, which made it perfect. Riya stayed close behind. He dialed James's temporary number, the emergency phone Riya had bought him when she took him in. It rang twice. Then a voice answered, not James's. "We have your boy." Riya's heart dropped. "Who are you?" she shouted into the receiver. But the voice ignored her. It spoke slowly, deliberately, smiling through the line. "If you want him alive, stop digging." Aaron went still, every muscle locked. The voice continued. "Return the files you stole, drop the inquiry, and walk away from the kid. He doesn't belong to you, he belongs to us." Riya felt her chest crush in. Her hands trembled violently. Aaron grabbed the phone from her. "You hurt him," Aaron said, voice low and dark, "and I will end you. I don't care how high you are. I don't care how hidden. I will find you." The man chuckled softly. "Be careful, Mr. Hale. CEOs don't do well against ghosts." The line went dead. Riya's knees buckled. She slid down the wall, her breath coming in sharp, broken gasps. They took him, Aaron, they took him." Aaron knelt beside her, gripping her shoulders firmly. "Listen to me, look at me." But she couldn't focus. She kept seeing James's face when he had finally smiled at her for the first time. Shy but hopeful. She kept hearing the officer threatening him. She kept imagining what they could be doing to him now. Aaron forced her chin up. "Riya, we will get him back." Her tear-filled eyes searched his. "How?" "They want us to stop. They have power. They have reach. You saw what they did to those other kids. That is exactly why we won't stop," he said. "This isn't about a report anymore. This is a war, and they declared it, not us." Riya swallowed hard, trying to steady herself. "But James, we save him first," Aaron said. "Then we burn their whole system down." Before Riya could speak, a loud thud echoed behind them. Aaron spun. A man in a gray hoodie was leaning against their SUV, pretending to check something on his phone, but his eyes were fixed on them, on Riya specifically. "Get up," Aaron whispered. "Right now." They moved quickly into the gas station store. The man followed. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A cashier looked up lazily from his phone, unaware that danger had just walked in. Riya and Aaron moved toward the back, close to the cameras, close to people. The man entered seconds later, scanning the aisles with a focus that didn't belong to a casual shopper. Aaron's mind raced. If these people already took James, then this wasn't surveillance anymore. This was extraction. They wanted Riya too. She had seen too much, connected too much, stood too close to too many victims. In their eyes, she was a threat that needed to be erased. "Stay near the counter," Aaron murmured. "If anything happens, run out the back door." "What about you?" Riya whispered. I'll distract him. But she grabbed his wrist. Aaron, they know who you are too. They know you're helping me. You're not safe either. I haven't been safe since I opened that file, he replied. The man moved closer. Aaron stepped out from behind the aisle, blocking his path. Lose something? He asked casually. The man lifted his eyes, cold, expressionless. Yeah, he said slowly. You. Aaron smiled slightly. Funny, I'm not usually the one being hunted. New experience. The man didn't laugh. He reached inside his hoodie. Riya screamed. The cashier looked up, startled for a split second. Time froze, Aaron staring into the face of a stranger, who had clearly been sent for one purpose only. Then Aaron moved first. He grabbed a metal rack and slammed it into the man's arm. Items flew everywhere. The man grunted, stumbling back, but didn't fall. He swung with his other hand and caught Aaron across the jaw, sending him crashing into a shelf. People screamed and ran. Glass shattered. The cashier ducked and hit an emergency button. Riya didn't run. She grabbed a fire extinguisher and struck the man across the back. Hard, he roared, turning toward her, but she hit him again, spraying foam into his face until he staggered blindly. Aaron clutched his jaw dizzy, but he forced himself up. Together, they sprinted for the back exit. Outside, the night had turned violent. Sirens somewhere far off, the city alive with chaos. Aaron and Riya ran into the alley behind the store, breathing hard. For a moment they thought they were safe. Then Aaron's burner phone buzzed again. One message, a photo. James bound, terrified, in the back of an unmarked van with a warning below it. Next time, we won't give you a chance to run. Riya's scream tore through the night. Aaron grabbed her as she collapsed, the darkness around them closing in like a threat. And the message was clear. This wasn't just corruption. This was a hunt, and they were now officially prey. The alley felt colder than the night around it, as if the darkness itself knew what the message meant. Riya couldn't breathe. She couldn't think. All she could see was James's terrified face taped and gagged in the back of that van. Aaron wrapped his arms around her, steadying her as she trembled uncontrollably. They're going to kill him, she whispered, her voice barely a breath. No, Aaron said firmly. They want leverage. They want us scared. That means they need him alive for now. Riya looked up, tears streaking her face. For now isn't enough. And that's why we move now, Aaron replied. He pulled her to her feet and guided her out of the alley, away from the gas station where police sirens were beginning to converge. They couldn't be seen, not by anyone. They had no idea which officers were clean and which were deep inside the network that had taken James. By the time they made it to the edge of the street, Aaron's burner phone beeped again. Another message. This time an address. A warehouse district near the docks. A place where cameras didn't work and people disappeared. Riya clenched her fists. They want us to come. Yes, Aaron said. Which means they'll be ready. But we're going anyway. Of course, he said. Because they don't know who they're dealing with. They stole into the night, weaving through side streets and back roads until they reached an old industrial area several miles from the city's center. The docks were massive and silent, the moonlight cutting long shadows across shipping containers stacked like metal tombs. The address led them to a derelict warehouse with boarded windows and 2 flickering lights. Above the entrance, Aaron parked far away and scanned the area. He had been in hostile negotiations before, but this was different. There was no boardroom table, no lawyers, no media, just concrete, shadows, and the knowledge that failure tonight meant a child would die. Riya stepped forward first, her hands shaking but her steps steady. I'm going in. Aaron blocked her. You're not walking into a trap alone. I'm the one they want to scare, she said. You're just collateral, and you think I'm going to let them use you like bait, he said. Not a chance. Riya swallowed, torn between fear and resolve. She knew what these people were capable of. She had seen children pass through the system like inventory. She had read their files, watched their trauma buried under paperwork, their stories erased with forged signatures. James wasn't the first, but she was determined he would be the last. Aaron checked the area again, then nodded. We go in together, no matter what. Inside the warehouse, the darkness swallowed them instantly. The smell of rust and damp concrete filled the air. Far away, footsteps echoed calm-controlled, expecting them. A spotlight snapped on. James was tied to a chair in the middle of the room, his eyes wide, cheeks streaked with tears. Riya ran forward, but Aaron grabbed her, stopping her just in time. A figure stepped out from the shadows behind. James, the same man from the phone, but he wasn't alone. 2 more men flanked him, both wearing badges clipped to their belts. Cops. Dirty ones. The man smiled, a slow, comfortable smile, a smile of someone who had done this before and never been caught. Good, he said. You came directly. Saves us time. What do you want? Aaron asked, stepping in front of Riya. The man paced casually, like a teacher scolding students. We want our system to run without interference. He looked at Riya. Our interference. You dig too much. You care too much. You report complaints that should stay buried. And you've been getting attention. Riya struggled to keep her voice steady. So you kidnap children to shut people up. The man rolled his eyes. Children who don't matter. Kids nobody checks on. Kids who fall through cracks no one bothers to fix. We give them purpose. You exploit them. Riya spat. You destroy them. He shrugged. Details. Aaron's jaw tightened. You're going to prison. The man laughed loudly. Prison, my friend. You don't understand how deep this goes. The people above me don't care about right or wrong. They care about control. They care about numbers. And you disrupted the numbers. He gestured to James. This boy was supposed to disappear quietly, but your little intervention forced us to change plans. Riya took a step forward. Aaron held her back. The man's smile sharpened. You have one chance. Give me the files you stole, every document, every recording, and walk away. And James? Riya asked, voice breaking. He goes back into the system, the man said, where he belongs. No, Riya whispered. Over my dead body. That, the man said, can be arranged. The two officers lifted their guns. James let out a muffled scream. Through the tape, Riya froze. Aaron didn't. He moved, faster than the men expected, shoving Riya to the ground just as the first officer fired. The bullet cracked into a metal beam. The second officer raised his gun, but Aaron grabbed a heavy metal pipe from the floor and swung, hitting the man's wrist and sending the weapon flying. Riya crawled toward James, ripping the tape from his mouth. Baby, look at me. We're here. We're here. The leader lunged toward her, but Aaron tackled him hard, slamming him into the concrete floor. They struggled violently, fists connecting with bone and metal echoing under their weight. Aaron took a punch to the ribs, then another to the jaw. The man reached for his gun. Aaron grabbed his wrist, twisting until bone cracked. The man screamed. One of the officers regained his balance and aimed again at Riya, but James Terrified little James threw himself forward with all the strength the child could summon, his bound body slamming into the officer's legs. The shot went wild. Riya seized the fallen gun on the ground and aimed it with trembling hands. Don't you touch him, she screamed. The officer froze. Aaron, bruised and bleeding, delivered one final blow to the leader, knocking him unconscious. The warehouse went still. No one moved. Then Riya dropped the gun and crumpled around James, pulling him into her arms. He sobbed into her shoulder, shaking violently, whispering, I thought you weren't coming. I thought they were gonna make me disappear. Never, she said over and over. Never, never, never. Aaron dragged himself to his feet, every bone screaming, we have to go. The backup will come. Not the good kind. Riya nodded. She lifted James and held him tight. His small hands clung to her shirt, like he would never let go again. They slipped out of the warehouse just as distant sirens grew louder. Aaron called the one number he trusted. We have evidence, he said. We have witnesses. And we have names. I need protection for 2 people immediately. You have it, the voice replied. Bring them in. They didn't stop until they reached a government safe house in a hidden part of the city. A place where nobody could touch them. A place where James finally cried himself to sleep in Riya's arms. A place where Aaron finally let himself breathe. By morning, the slow collapse of a powerful network began. Arrests, suspensions, investigations. Dirty. Officers dragged out of their homes in handcuffs. Supervisors pretending they knew nothing. Paper trails uncovered. Systems audited. Victims identified. The city shook. And Riya, she didn't hide. She stood in front of cameras. Her hands trembling but her voice strong, telling the world exactly what had been happening in the shadows. Aaron stood beside her. James held her hand. The system had been built on fear. But fear couldn't survive someone brave enough to expose it. Riya didn't just save James. She saved every child who would have vanished next, and the city would never be the same again.